Hey guys, today I'm gonna do sort of like a story time slash a chat with me about anxiety, and this is a video that I honestly have been wanting to do for a while because, as many of you may know, I do experience anxiety to a significant extent. I feel like sharing my experience could be helpful, and just opening up with you guys is something that I want to make sure I do often. I want to be real with you guys and share my real life. And this might not be the most entertaining video, but if you struggle with anxiety and you want to learn from my experience, I would love to share it with you. I also want to just clarify, I'm not a professional. I am just going to be sharing my experience with anxiety, and I posted on my Instagram story and asked you guys for some questions that you may have about anxiety in general, or maybe my experience. And you guys, this may have been this story that I got the most like questions answered to. Like, I was scrolling for so long, and it just like, it means a lot to me, like, to not feel alone in this journey of anxiety. Like, I know that so many people struggle with this, and I just wish there was a way that we could all feel better and be happy and, you know, not deal with anxiety. But unfortunately, anxiety is real, and many of us do struggle with it. And yeah, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about it. So I'm gonna just go through some of these questions and share my experience with you guys. I'm gonna start with this one because it can kind of open up the video a little bit, but it says, how did you know that you had it? And I'm assuming that means like, how did you know you had anxiety? For me, I knew as soon as I started experiencing physical symptoms for no reason at all. Like, I would just be chilling on the couch and suddenly my heart would be racing, and I'd be like, what is going on right now? Like, this is so abnormal. I am not used to this feeling. And this started for me at the end of high school going into college. So around COVID time was when it was the absolute worst for me. I was sitting around doing nothing, and when I am bored and doing nothing, my mind races, my body kind of starts feeling the symptoms, and I get full-blown anxiety. So I just remember that's when I kind of knew something was up. And then I also had my first anxiety attack on a plane, and that was a really long time ago, but that's when it kind of started for me too, because I started feeling like nervous about things. Like, I just knew something was off. Like, it was different. It was a different type of worrying that caused me to literally feel like I was trapped inside this little bubble with all these like symptoms and emotions, and I was like, how am I gonna deal with this? It's so much. This person said, honestly, it stops me from doing a lot in life, even small things, and I don't know what to do. I read this and like, my heart just like breaks. Like, it just makes me so upset to think about how many of us deal with this. And I completely relate to you on like this entire statement. Like, this is something I experience pretty much daily, and over time it's gotten better for sure. But in the past, like, I kind of didn't want to leave my room. Like, I would just feel safe here, and like leaving these walls, these four walls, kind of felt threatening to me for no reason at all. It was just a generalized anxiety that I felt, and I always was saying no. I wouldn't hang out with my friends, I wouldn't go to dinners, I wouldn't go to school. Like, everything kind of started to turn into like, no, 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 I don't want to do that, I can't do that, my anxiety is too much, I can't do it. And turns out you can. Over time, for sure. It does take time, but I have found ways around the, no, I can't go out because I'm gonna be anxious in this public setting. Like, that was my mindset. I'm like, I cannot go to dinner because I'm gonna sit there and I'm gonna be anxious, and I'm not gonna be able to eat my food or focus on the conversation. That's kind of how my mind was. And like, reading this statement, I know that's a very tough feeling, and I didn't know what to do either. And that brings us into the next question. How did you realize it was time to seek help? I think it was time to seek help when I finally was like, no, I can't go to do the most simple things with my friends because I'm gonna be anxious. And that mindset for me was just so frustrating, because as much as I wanted to be with people and interact and be social, my body and my mind they weren't adding up there. Like, I would feel the symptoms around my friends. I wouldn't know what to say to them to kind of calm myself down. And I just wanted someone to be able to talk to about these feelings and normalize them for me, because I felt so alone. I felt like these feelings, no one else around me is experiencing this. Like, why is it just me? Like, I feel like I'm alone here. And when I talked to my therapist and finally, you know, sought out some help, I feel like it's changed my life. Like, I am gonna be so honest with you guys right now. Like, going to therapy was probably the best thing I could have done for my anxiety, because it was like not a flip of the switch, but like it was something that kind of over time I started to recognize ways of coping, ways of changing my behavior to avoid the panic attacks, the anxiety. Like, I think therapy was my little change there, like where I had the mindset of I can't do it till I can. My therapist helped me through so much, and I only saw her for maybe like 6 sessions. So I was definitely intimidated going to therapy, but I think that was the best thing I could have done. What are some coping strategies that you most commonly use? All right, so I didn't have any when I first started feeling anxiety. I didn't know how to cope. I didn't know what to do to get rid of these symptoms, but my first symptom is always my heart rate. I will feel it beating out of my chest. Like, I can't even explain the feeling. Like, it feels like I'm about to get onto a roller coaster, and I might just be sitting in a classroom and this feeling overcomes me. And my first problem was I always wore an Apple Watch, and I would just sit there and check my heart rate and be like, oh my gosh, it's at 120 and I am sitting in class, what is wrong with me? And like, that thinking is honestly what made me spiral. So my first step was kind of just like calming myself down and grounding myself in the moment, and realizing that like I may have felt anxious in class like a week ago, but I made it through that class. I got out of it. I can do it again. And I tried to make sure that my mind like wasn't negative self-talking. Like, I didn't want to spiral even further, because that makes it so much worse. So I tried to catch the anxiety in the moment, and I would just repeat like a phrase, like, I'm gonna be okay. I'm okay. This is okay. Everything's okay. And like, even if it doesn't feel right to say that, I just kept repeating it, and over time my mind started to believe it, and I was like, suddenly I'm calming down. I'm realizing I am here in the present, in the moment. And other things I would do is I would take a deep breath, but spend more time on my breath outward. Like, when I breathe in, I'd breathe in for a little bit, but I'd breathe out for much longer. I guess that's another strategy. My therapist taught me this one too. It's kind of just like, when you breathe out, you're putting pressure in your chest and it slows down your heart rate. I'm not a doctor. I don't know if that is proven to be true. It's just something that I do. I also kind of have like, I sort of like fidget, which is not a good thing. So if I catch myself like picking at my nails or like chewing on something like my cheek, which is awful, I always do that. I literally try and snap out of it immediately. So I guess for me, when I'm starting to feel anxious, I cope with it by catching it right in the moment and not letting myself progress down the negative spiral of like a future anxiety attack, which I used to do a lot. Just calming yourself and grounding yourself and breathing. Deep breathing is probably the #1 strategy. It's so important to breathe when you're anxious, because breathing can do a lot to slow down your heart rate, to make you feel better when you're nauseous about something. Like, breathing is probably my #1 coping mechanism. Any tips on how to explain your anxiety to people when you don't know what's causing it? So for me, if I'm like really anxious around other people, I flat out just say it. Like, I am not feeling great right now. Like, I am so anxious right now and I don't know why. And typically, like, I will ask my friends to talk to me about something else. Like, can you distract me, please? Like, I need someone to just sit there and like have a conversation with me to change my mind from whatever I'm anxious on to like something completely different. I typically will like pick up the phone and call my mom or my dad or my sister when my heart rate is like extreme and I'm feeling anxious, because sometimes just like talking to them will calm me down. I feel like family is the number one I go to, and then my friends, I'll typically just sit down with like my roommate or like have someone hug me. I'll even cuddle Buddy. But if you don't know how to explain what's causing it, I think it's completely okay to just tell someone that you need someone to talk to. Like, can you please just distract me for a moment? I think that's probably another coping strategy for sure. What advice does your therapist give you? So therapy is going to be different for everyone. We all are going through different things, but for me, I talk to my therapist a lot about just the physical symptoms that anxiety causes for me, and how when I start feeling a physical symptom, my anxiety starts getting worse. Like, it's just like this cycle for me. And she basically wanted me to start finding ways to break that cycle, and she's the one who told me to just sit down and repeat a phrase like "I'm okay," and that one I think changed a lot for me, just being able to ground myself in new ways. She also told me to take 5 minutes out of every day where I just lay down or sit down and like meditate in a way, or pray, or just spend some time in peace, because if your body knows a feeling of peace, it's easier to return to that feeling if you're anxious. Like, if you don't know what peace is like, how is your body supposed to come from a super anxious state to a peaceful state? That's basically what she explained to me. And then we also talked about a window of tolerance, and maybe my window is like this much. This is how much I can tolerate, and when something is above my window of tolerance, I'm gonna freak out and I'm gonna panic. And so she taught me that it is okay to say no to things. You don't have to do everything in life if you can't handle it. Like, if something is completely outside your window of tolerance, just make sure it's something you can handle if you want to say yes to it. I remember one day I scheduled an appointment, I had an exam, my car broke down, I had to fix my laptop, and that was just up here. My window of tolerance was down here, and I was panicking, I was freaking out, and like, it's a lot to handle. But now that I've handled it, my window is expanded and I feel like I could handle it again. That's just like how she made me think. She made me so much more confident in my anxiety, and I've kind of used my anxiety as a strength, not a weakness. It's not something that's super negative, and I think we all look at it as the most like negative thing in the world. Like, I don't want to have anxiety, but it's your body's way of protecting itself, and it's something that I feel has helped me a lot, just knowing that my body feels threatened and that's why it reacts the way it does. It's unfortunate that it's most times in public situations, but I'm thankful for my anxiety because it's probably protected me from a lot. It makes me think a lot. And that goes into the next question. What is a positive thing that having anxiety has given you? I feel like it's made me a critical thinker. I can kind of analyze situations now in a new way, and I've become so aware of my surroundings that like I would know if someone was standing like completely behind me. Like my senses are heightened, which probably is not an amazing thing, but I feel like I have like a superpower. Like my senses are pretty high sometimes. Like I can smell, see, hear like a dog. Like I feel like I am a dog sometimes. Like Buddy is me. I am Buddy. Okay, sorry, let's be real. Anxiety has made me definitely an uptight person, but in a way that can be good because I want to make sure I get things done on time. I want to be present. I want to be able to make sure my friendships are important. Let me read online what it says anxiety is good for. It helps people anticipate obstacles, remain cautious, and stay organized. There we go. Anxious people are organized and cautious. That's a good thing. Do you ever feel sick due to anxiety? If so, how do you cope with it? Well, some of you may know I have a very terrible fear of throwing up. It's just been a fear for my entire life. And unfortunately, one of the symptoms of anxiety is that like nauseous, sick feeling. So typically when I feel that sick feeling, I spiral more into anxiety and I freak myself out even more. So I guess in ways of coping, I just kind of try and distract myself. Like if I am not feeling good due to anxiety, I will go outside, I will go for a walk and just breathe in fresh air, because I immediately am like, okay, fresh air, I'm feeling better, like I'm not gonna get sick, I'm gonna be okay, like let's calm down. Other things I do is just, you know, talking to people. I crochet so much now because it's just such a calming activity. If I'm not feeling good, if I just feel ill, I will lay in bed and crochet when I'm anxious, just to like have something with my hands. Like I need to be doing something, and then I'll watch a show and like instantly I'm distracted. So distraction and keeping yourself busy and like just avoiding thinking about feeling sick is probably my #1 coping strategy, because the more I think about feeling sick, the more I will want to be sick. That's my real answer there. I also got a bunch of questions about what I'm anxious about. Like, is this a generalized thing or a specific? And for me, I would say it's a generalized anxiety. I will get anxious over the smallest things and not even know why. But, you know, I do have phobias, but this is definitely a generalized anxiety for me, just being anxious constantly. Have you ever gotten so overwhelmed by something so simple and harmless? Yes, I have. It is not a good feeling when you should be like able to do something, but that mindset, being like, I should be able to do this, that is the worst way of thinking, because you should validate yourself and be like, you know what, maybe I can't do this right now. Like, that's okay. You don't have to be able to do this. Like for me, let me think of a scenario here. I used to have a lot of anxiety about going out to eat, and then I would attack myself and be like, why am I not normal? Why are other people able to go out to eat and why can't I? And going out to eat is so simple and harmless, and maybe I just want to go to Chick-fil-A, but I could never eat inside the restaurant for so long because being in that social setting made me anxious. But you know, it's very common to have these like small things set you off. That is another thing I talked to my therapist about. Like, different things will trigger different people, and for me it was definitely a lot around being around other people for a while. Social anxiety, it might seem really harmless to other people, but maybe it's intimidating to you, and that is completely okay. And you have to be able to tell yourself that, because that is a coping strategy. It's a way of getting through it, and not like making yourself feel bad about it. Like, it's okay. I promise you, other people feel the same way. I'll answer 2 more questions. So this one is, how do you not let it stop you from doing things? Well, for a while it stopped me from doing a lot, but then I realized if I just kept saying no to everything, I was making that anxiety bond like so much stronger, that I could say no and I didn't have to go do that. So I wanted to challenge myself, and I wanted to just see once in a while if I could say yes, and I could go out to dinner, and I could go to school and go to class. So I kind of forced myself into the situations, got myself outside of my comfort zone, and it was uncomfortable. But as soon as I started doing it on a more consistent, repetitive basis, I got used to it. And I think it's important for you to not avoid things entirely, but kind of just give yourself a little bit of leeway and like, maybe next time I'll do it. You know, I guess that's the only way I could really explain it. Like, I went for it. I tried to overcome my fears by engaging in things that I may have not really wanted to do, just so I could get some exposure to it and experience it. For example, I did not like going to class because I would sit there and I would just be so anxious, and I was like, I can't do this, I have to go home. And so sometimes I'd literally walk out of class early because I was anxious, and that's okay. At least I made it to class. But now I'm to the point where I can sit in class, and if I'm feeling anxious, I can walk outside for a little bit, come back, sit down. Just know that there's an escape, you know. Like, I had to create some strategies in my head of ways to make myself feel better in places that may not make me feel so good. I feel like I've talked quite a bunch in this video, and I may have rambled, I may have spoke about way too many things at once, but I think that this one is probably a really important question to focus on. Will it get better? I have always wondered that, and from the very start of my anxiety, I wanted it to end. I wanted it to be over. I wanted to get rid of it. And when sitting down with my therapist, I told her my end goal for our therapy sessions was to get rid of my anxiety for good. And she just sat there and was like, I just want you to know that your anxiety is something that is there to protect you, and it's not something you can necessarily get rid of forever, because you might go onto a roller coaster one day and feel extremely anxious like me, because I am super terrified of roller coasters. But in general, your anxiety is something that is there as a good thing, and you have to learn ways of living with your anxiety instead of living in ways that you want to like get rid of it, push it out of your life. Like, I just looked at it as something that I needed gone. I honestly don't even look at it as something I need to get rid of anymore. I feel like it's something I want to manage for sure. I just want to learn how to live with it instead of get rid of it, because I know that it's a bodily function. It's not really something I can change about myself, and I like the way I am, and I hope that everyone watching this video knows that you are not alone. And a lot of people deal with these types of emotions and feelings and reactions to things, and I deal with it myself. And I hope that this video has kind of made you guys like understand my experience with it, and hopefully I've made you feel less alone in this experience. We are all in this together. And anxiety, it will get better. As soon as you learn that it's not something that you should be hating, and it's maybe something that's there as like a protection and something good for you, I feel like that is a good mindset change. And I feel like a lot of people don't really look at it as something like that. I personally, at first when she said that to me, I was like, you're crazy, lady. I am not ever gonna appreciate this anxiety. I don't want it. Like, get rid of it for me, please. And I don't know, she just gave me ways to cope with it and manage it, and it's something I can live with now. And it's gotten better, so much better from when it first started. So I am living experience that it gets better. Hopefully it will get better for you too one day. And my advice would be definitely, maybe if you're in the situation that I was in, just seeking a school counselor, maybe a friend just to rely on and talk to about things. Maybe you can open up to your parents or your siblings or anyone that you feel comfortable talking to about these things. Or like I did, maybe search for a therapist or someone that can give you professional help, because mental health is so very important. If you are not mentally healthy, it's going to be very hard to function in your daily life. And I have learned from my experience that I want to be able to go out and do things without feeling anxiety during the actions. Like, it was making me want to stay home every day, and I don't want to do that anymore. And that's why I truly wanted to seek help and help myself out and get healthy mentally. And like I said, my anxiety is not gone. It's not something that I'm just like, goodbye anxiety, I'm done with you. I kind of look at it as my little friend. Sometimes it comes along to remind me it's still there, but you know, I'm not as anxious as I used to be, and I have learned how to calm myself down in situations where I feel anxiety coming on. I am super passionate about my anxiety and mental health in general, and this is a video I've been wanting to make for a while, and I hope that it has helped you guys in some way or form. And if not, I hope that maybe you learned a little bit from my experience or got to know me a little bit better. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up. And I really want to know what other types of videos you guys would like to see me do. Maybe some that are like similar to this, where I just sit down and like share advice. Like, I really love talking, if you didn't realize already. I can talk for so long, which is probably not the best thing, but I would love to do more videos like this. So if you want some more, please let me know down below. Once again, I am so appreciative of all of you guys, And I feel like this anxiety journey would not really be the same without like the love and support I have from my social media platforms and from all of you guys. I feel like I can just relate to so many of my comments that I get about anxiety, and it makes me feel less alone, and I hope that this video has helped you guys feel a little bit better too. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you next time. I love you so much. Bye!